My name is Deanna. I work for NAMI Maine as a programs coordinator on the youth education department, and I am here today with my coworker, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is Delaney Ireland. I also work as a programs coordinator for NAMI. We're excited to be bringing today's episode of NAMI Talks.
Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in. I would love to kick off today to kind of talk about the whole reason we're here recording today. Today, the reason we are recording this podcast in the first place is because this podcast is going to be coming out on August 12th, I believe, or close to it. Do you know about August 12th, Delaney?
I do. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what's going on August 12th?
Absolutely. So, just like last year, this year, a couple of us on the youth education team are going to be talking about International Youth Day. Essentially, to kind of summarize this event that happens every year, is essentially it was just a day created to spotlight the ability young people have as leaders in their communities where they're able to create change and they are just so equipped to have creative solutions. Um, I believe it's specifically around, um, the tech world and up and coming big ticket items and stuff like that. But at NAMI Maine, we are specifically really happy to talk about International Youth Day just because we always aim to empower young people to take charge of their mental health, their mental wellness, specifically ask for help when they need it, and sort of just be the change they wish to see in the world. And it's really super important to me. I love kind of being the not necessarily the knower of all things, but I love being able to pass along information to young people that I wish I had known when I was in middle school and high school and even college. But around their age, I love making sure they have all the resources they need and the tools to be self-sufficient, to take care of their own mental health, but to lean on trusted adults and peers and ask for help when they really need it. And that's why we kind of do what we do at NAMI. Do you want to just briefly tell our listeners what we specifically talk about with young people and their trusted adults?
Yeah. Tying into International Youth Day specifically, though, we did actually just host our summer youth event a little over a month ago on June 8th. And that was tied in really closely to the programming that we do in schools. So our event was called Rooted in Strength, and we hosted it at Wolf's Neck Center in Freeport. And the goal of the event was to bring young people together to share how they are creating change within their schools, within their communities, how they're using their voice to make a difference. And with our programming that we do in schools, that's a lot of what we do as well. We encourage young people to tap into the things that bring them joy, whether those are people, whether that's friends, trusted adults, whether those are the healthy activities that they engage in, different things that they do to preserve and build their mental wellness. And so through our summer youth event, we were able to bring a lot of young people together to share those things, learn new things that they might not have known about, or new resources that they might not have known about, so that they can bring those back to their schools and communities in their own voice and kind of take it from there and build off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, not to kind of toot our own horns, but one thing that I especially loved about our events and our programming, but we just really love to have fun. Specifically, here in my team, we love finding creative ways to learn about helping others and ourselves, especially around resiliency and growing our strengths as it relates to mental health and just kind of overall wellness. We always talk about how our body and our minds are connected, and often what we do to care for one helps the other. And I, kind of related to this, kind of not, but laughter is super important and really good for you, everyone, not just young people, ourselves included. It's really fun to watch them playing games at our Rooted in Strength event. And even though it wasn't a super sunny day, It still turned out to be really nice by the end. So there were outdoor activities. They were able to paint a mural on a canvas, plant some flowers and other little plants to take home in those little biodegradable cups. And, inside there was friendship bracelet making, there was other activities going on. Um,
We had community resources as well
mhm,
that were available to
so
connect with
important.
young people. We had Teens to Trails, we had Sweetser's Options program, we had Out Maine, all types of resources that young people might be familiar with, but be able to learn more about, or might be able to learn about for the first time. So it was great to have them there to give out resources and to make connections with young people who can then share those resources back in their communities using their voices.
Absolutely. We think about this every day of the year, but specifically on International Youth Day, we really like to reflect on how much there is going on in the world. Young people specifically are experiencing so many stressors that many of us adults never had to experience at their age. Constant access to social media, to technology. We were just talking about how we need to put our phones away once in a while. And growing up during a pandemic, I experienced, the pandemic during my college years, kind of the last two of them. But I wasn't in grade school when it was happening. I had a lot more access to resources and kind of more independence and ability to lean on my strengths. But I'm not sure if I would have had the same tools that I do now that I did when I was in middle school. I don't know if I would have fared as well as I did, um, whenever it was really big 4 years ago. But that's just really something we are really focused on, especially around our Rooted in Strength event. It's kind of our starting to become our annual end of school into summer event where we really want to educate young people and the adults that support them around how to have those supportive conversations, like we talked about. What strengths can we lean on? How can we bring joy into things and kind of focus on the hope of it all, and kind of this little conversation we've had on here before, but building our wellness toolkit. What tools can we lean on and kind of get us through the summer? Young people's access to resources are very different when they're at school versus when they're at home. So it's really important for us to make sure they feel supported going into summer and celebrated for all they accomplished during the school year. So then we can kick things back up again in fall. And that kind of brings us to our next conversation. We really just wanted to not only hop on here to appreciate the young people on this International Youth Day and all those that we were able to connect with throughout the school year and at our summer event. So shout out to them for hanging out with us for the day. That was on June 28th, this year, 2025. But essentially, for our school year of 25-26, our youth ed team, NAMI Maine, most likely is going to be we're going to be kicking off the school year with a campaign. So we kind of wanted to continue into our Rooted in Strength message. But for the fall, we're going to be really focusing on growing in our resilience, or growing in resilience. So this year, we're hoping to bring awareness, education, support, advocacy, all of our pillars at NAMI Maine around mental health. We want to bring them to schools across the state. We're going to be hoping to kick off the school year rooted in strength, and we're going to be focusing on connecting communities with resources to help their students, to help their staff really grow in resilience together with us, because we're all growing and learning together how to support our own mental wellness. And we know that transitioning into our school schedules from our fall schedules can be really a significant stressor for students. I know for myself, it was a difficult transition. I did like kind of the school structure at the time. Over time, it wasn't my favorite. But would you feel comfortable sharing any of the tools that you leaned on going into school for the fall?
Yeah. Uh, as someone who's still in school, I can definitely vouch for the fact
Yeah.
that shifting from vacation schedule to school schedule is very difficult, and not as much fun as I would like it to. But some things that have helped me are maintaining a consistent routine. Even throughout the summer, as awful as it is, I try to get up within the range of similar times, um, trying to eat meals at regular times as much as possible. And again, there are always going to be days that that doesn't work. I know I've reached out to you specifically, and you know that I eat dinner at like 8 p.m. sometimes
Or later.
or later. Yeah, mostly later.
We're
Um,
working on routine
we're
building.
working on it. Yep. We are not the experts. We are walking this journey with you. And that's something that I think about too when I think about International Youth Day is we spend a lot of our time in schools working with students, but usually only for like a day or two maximum. And then it's them that have to use their voice, their social influence to create the change that they want to see in their schools. Um, Tying back into routines, finding those connections, whether that is through a group that you're passionate about, whether it's through your friends that have similar interests or passion, staying connected to those people is important because whether they are also in school and going through something similar, that can be helpful. But it can also be helpful to have friends and connections outside of your day to day life, right? If your friend goes to school with you and you have every class together, finding some connections that maybe are outside of school or outside of your typical hobbies can give you some kind of variety and break up that routine a little bit so it doesn't all become about school or work or home. Finding that balance is really critical and is something that I am still working on, clearly. But yeah, but that was the end of that thought. So I
That's
wanted to say all that.
perfect. No, I was just going to add on to that, specifically your example around, kind of having that one really strong, supportive friend, seeing them every day, seeing them on the weekends, having every class together, going in shared groups and shared clubs. Super great, super important, but we do also want to diversify our strengths. I had a very similar experience. I think it was like sixth or seventh grade. I made a really good friend. We were really, really close. We still are. And we practically did everything together. But then she moved away after a year or two. And eventually she moved back in senior year of high school. But that transition of not having that super strong strength that I had lived so close to me as she used to. It was it was hard. It was tough, and I really had to kind of make my way on my own, and that was difficult. Realizing I didn't really have any other tools or have anyone else to lean on, and making new friends is great and wonderful, and um, always encourage having friends from different classes, from different groups. I know it's easier than said than done, but even just diversifying what you're into and, maybe joining a sport that you never have before or joining a club that sounds interesting. We want to help you all feel empowered to be brave enough to take those leaps and try things out. You never know what's going to be really successful and really helpful until you try it. Um,
Also, the beginning of a school year is such a natural, fresh start, and I am such a huge fan of those. Great opportunity to try new things, branch out, do things differently, include new people in your friend circles, uh, reach out to people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to previously, but build those new connections and those new hobbies, try new activities. Um,
And sometimes they happen organically. We're not telling you to go around and talk to every person that walks
yeah.
by, but sometimes take the opportunity. If you have an assigned seating chart in class, I know they're the worst, but sometimes take that opportunity that's given to you. Meet your neighbor. You might have to work with them on a project anyways, so just take that opportunity to get to know them, or at the very least, just be kind with our friends, our peers, our community members. Everyone's dealing with a lot of stressors together. We just never know what someone else is dealing with and how much hello, how are you? Your outfit looks nice can go really far. Um, but that's just kind of why we're focusing on growing in resilience. We're all doing it together. It's necessary for all of us to have tools in our wellness toolkit to help us um, bring our emotions down to size or just help us feel like ourselves again.
Yeah, and I think as we talk about resilience too, it's important to define what that means, right?
Yeah.
Um, so resilience is how we bounce back from stressors that pop up in our life. So it ties into everything that we've talked about so far, right? For some people, it's those connections with people, it's activities that you do with others or alone. Whatever it is for you that helps you face whatever stress is coming up in your life and not feel as overwhelmed or kind of bogged down by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is so okay if you feel like you have all these tools and strengths that you can lean on, and you feel like you are generally pretty resilient. But if you're still not able to recover from, a tough day, a tough week, a tough month, if you find yourself kind of really struggling with your emotions, bringing them down to size, being able to carry them on your own, you can always have a trusted adult or yourself kind of reach out for support. We will link a few resources in the show notes. I think it is. In the podcast description, we'll link some few resources. NAMI National has the Teen and Young Adult Helpline, which is a resource that's available Monday to Friday. You can text them, you can call them. They're great and there to support your um, back to school journey or any time of year, really. But they're here there to help you navigate mental health challenges, struggles in your friend group, really any stressors that you're going through. It's not a crisis line. So if you are experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, please reach out to 988 online or over the phone. But the NAMI Teen and Young Adult Helpline is there for mental health support if you or a friend needs it. We have some wonderful improving outcomes for youth programs in the state of Maine. I'll link the article to all of those. But those are essentially your local boys and girls club, your some other options I can no longer think of anymore, but we'll link them all below. They are wonderful, and every county in Maine has one. They're great resources. They have after school programs, they have different supports and fun activities going on. They're doing wonderful things for their communities. And we have some of our own resources in youth education. We have our Step into Action resource, which is essentially a peer support action plan. STEP, I won't go into detail, but STEP stands for See Changes, Talk to Your Friend, Encourage Connections to Resources, and Plan to Follow Up. You can learn more about that in the link that we'll attach below. And we have some other mental health apps with free trials or they're completely free. And we have some other resources about supporting yourselves and talking to your friends. And we hope you come back to keep listening. But do you want to talk a little bit about the event in September? Just the walk
Yeah.
that we'll be at.
Um,
You don't have to say anything about our group name because we don't have one.
no, I did have other thoughts.
Yeah. Throw in any thoughts.
But I was trying. I'm like transition. I can't transition. But yes, September 27th is a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also be hosting a walk event on Saturday, September 27th. We'll also be hosting a walk event on Saturday, September 27th in Capitol Park in Augusta. We would love to see you all there to connect with us, get some more resources, connect with other community members. Dogs are welcome if they're on leashes and they're friendly. We would love to see you all there. Getting outside is a great way that we can relieve stress as well.
Absolutely.
Because when we talk about growing in resilience is a practice. It's not something that we achieve one day and never have to do again. We attach a bunch of resources to every podcast because something different works for everyone. Some days you might want to reach out to a friend for support. Other days you might find that spending time alone or doing an activity independently is more helpful. So, growing in resilience really means practicing and leaning on different things that help, figuring out what helps more often than not, and really tapping into those things, using them as often as you can, encouraging others to do the same so that we can all grow in resilience together. Um, it's been great chatting with you, Deanna, and sharing some of this information and resources. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like it, share it, and follow NAMI Talks on wherever you consume your podcasts. And other than that, please have a great day.
All your ways of contacting us and all your resources will be found below in the notes.